What's up everyone, my name is Mike and welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking editions because VeVe yesterday released an announcement about some changes in editions for certain collectibles and started to really define what these FA, FE, CE really mean for collectibles moving forward. Let's get into it. Now this is really interesting because we've had a lot of talk about what these FA tags, what these FE tags, CE, what these really mean, because we've seen some discrepancies when it comes to collectibles on the VeVe app. And so they released an article yesterday and shot it out on their Twitter about what they actually mean. They have now defined them. It's come right from the source, and they're actually changing some tags for certain collectibles, which is really interesting. And this might have some short-term effects as well as some long-term effects that I'm going to talk about at the end of this video, and some collectibles that I've got my eye on because of this. First of all, I really love how transparent VeVe is in talking through this and releasing this statement, because it's really important for us as collectors. And really, they admitted in the article that there has been some inconsistencies, some discrepancies. They're changing some of the tags, and really that they're in a figure it out as they go mode with the VeVe platform. Obviously, it's taking off. Obviously, it's growing so substantially that they've got some things to work out, and this is just one step in that right direction. So let's get into a few of these tags and what they actually mean as defined by VeVe themselves. First appearance is defined as a character with a storyline being the first appearance on the VeVe platform and not necessarily on the blockchain itself. Though because VeVe is releasing a lot of first appearance characters, they are actually a first appearance on the blockchain, but FA on VeVe actually refers to them being the first appearance on VeVe. Now comics are actually separated from collectibles, so if a character makes a first appearance in a comic, they can still make a first appearance as a collectible because that FA tag is for a collectible themselves. So because Steamboat Willie is considered a second appearance of Mickey considering the partner statue, it doesn't get the FA or FE tag. Now FE is being defined as an object or artist works making their debut on VeVe and not necessarily the blockchain, as well as what F8 referred to. But this also does clarify some things in terms of FE and FA. But this makes sense with certain objects being an FE, like the serial killers. They don't have a storyline attached to them. They're not a character with a story, so they're not a first appearance. In this case, they're an FE, a first edition. Same with the lenticular cards. Why wasn't all the other characters other than Mickey a first appearance? Well, this clarifies some things. They're cards, they're objects. That means they are tagged as a first edition. Whereas if those characters become a collectible in the future, we could still see them being a first appearance, with the exception of Mickey because he's already been a golden statue character. We've already seen a first appearance of Mickey. So those other characters on those lenticular cards could still be a first appearance if they're released as a collectible in the future. Con exclusives are dropped as part of a convention like a Comic-Con, and that still stays fairly consistent with what we already knew. The only consideration with this is that FA and FE is given priority over CE. So if a character is dropped as a con exclusive but is a first appearance or first edition of a character, they'll actually get that FA or FE tag, not that CE tag. Now they also mentioned the problem with the Batmans, because some of the Batman's work were done by artists and they were given that FE tag. Now that's a problem because ultimately these are collectibles, these are characters with storyline. They should get an FA tag when they're the FA, the first appearance. And then everything after that should be not labeled. It should not be an FE because that's reserved for items and objects or characters without storylines. However, with those, they're not going to remove the FE. They've decided they're keeping that FE tag with those characters out of respect to not devalue those collectibles that people have purchased already with that FE tag on them. And that's really important moving forward with those characters and with those collectibles so that there's not a major sell-off on them. So ultimately with this news, they're not removing tags, they're changing a lot of tags. A lot of tags are changing from FA to FE. And that's simply because they're characters without storylines, they're done by an artist, or they're an item and an object, and they cannot get that FA tag based on their new description of these. So that doesn't necessarily mean that FA is above FE. They're just different tags for different descriptions of what that collectible is. FA being for a character with a storyline, FE being for items, objects, artist work, or characters without storylines. So for the most part, we're seeing FA to FE with a lot of collectibles, or a couple collectibles getting the FE tag when they initially didn't have any tag, with the exception of one collectible that's moving from a CE tag, a con exclusive, over to an FA tag at first appearance. And this is the Captain Carter Mighty Marvels. So it's really interesting with these characters, what's going to happen to them in the short term and the long term, now that they've changed from an FA to an FE, or in Captain Carter's sense, has changed from a CE to an FA, which I think is actually more valuable. But to be honest, in the short term, we might see a little bit of a change, but in the long term, I don't think that there will be a significant change from these characters in terms of their pricing. I think we might see Captain Carter's price go up in the short term, but in the long term, I don't think that we can attribute its price rise to this change from CE to FA. There's two reasons why I think that. One being that VeVe is going to grow substantially over this next year and into the long term. Right now, the user base that is seeing this change is going to be a fraction of what the user base is going to be in the future with VeVe, in my opinion. And that's if VeVe continues to grow at the pace that they're growing. So with new users coming in, they're not going to know so much about this change. They're not going to know that Captain Carter used to be a CE and is now an FA unless they do their research into that collectible. So in the long term, I think people will purchase Captain Carter because of the character and because of that FA attached to it, not because of the CE to FA change and the distinction with that. Which brings me to my second point. And I'm going to compare physical collectibles to digital collectibles in this case. I wouldn't necessarily do that with every case, but in this case I will. When a physical collectible goes out with an error on the package or with the collectible itself, and the company decides to change that error and then ships out more collectibles, that initial run of that collectible with that error is actually worth substantially more than the collectibles in the next run. This is what we're essentially seeing with these digital collectibles changing tags. Now, the only difference with this is that the physical collectible, you hold on to that error. You can see that error and compare it to the next run without that error, which makes it more valuable. But with this, they're just going to change the tags and then we will never see that error. It's not like it's going to say CE with a slash through it and then change to FA on Captain Carter's page. Same thing with all the other items and objects that are changing from FA to FE. So because we don't see that change, and in the future with VeVe's user base growing and not really knowing about this change in the long term, really it's just going to be a blip in this history of VeVe as a platform. I don't think that this is going to make it more valuable. Instead, what's going to make it more valuable is the character itself and just having that FA tag, not necessarily this error of CE to FA or FA to FE. What I think would make it valuable is if VeVe did distinguish that it used to be FE and is now FA. For example, if they had FE, put a slash through it, and then FA beside it. That would make these collectibles worth collecting because of this change. That's really interesting to me if they were to do that, because we would visually see that tag with this collectible, and that is enough to make this an error that is visible, much like a physical collectible would be, or a change in the history of this collectible. It would be visual. We would see it, future users on VeVe would see it, and that's what would drive up that price. Now, if anything, you might see those FE appearances of Batman, Harley Quinn really rise in price because they shouldn't be FE and they've got that FE tag. I think those are collectibles that are worth taking a look at and watching in the long term because of this change. A character with a storyline that's treated as an item or an object getting that FE, those are characters that I'm going to keep my eye on with this moving update, and I'm going to watch their price as it goes. Now, one thing I actually noticed with this change really interests me, because the first time I read this article, I noticed two items missing that were items and objects with an FA that should have an FE tag. And I really kept my eye on them, and I was going to go ahead and purchase them or make moves in the future to purchase them because of this. When I first read this, I didn't see the Avengers logo and I didn't see the skateboard on this. These are both golden moments that I didn't see on this list changing from FA to FE. Now that I reread this article, I see those on this list changing from FA to FE, and I wonder if that's been updated because people have brought this up. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this if you read this and you thought the same thing, and perhaps they updated it with those two items on this list. Because really it makes sense that those would turn from FA to FE, and if they stayed FA, I think that would cause their prices to really skyrocket, because these are the only items and only only objects that would have remained FA on the VeVe app. That would have been really interesting, but it seems like they are changing them from FA to FE in this case. That being said, they are the only golden moments that have that FE tag to them, which could still cause their price to increase, being that they're two collectibles in the lower tier of the golden moments when considering their price. Perhaps having that FE tag distinguishing them from all the other golden moments will cause their price to increase. I'm going to keep my eye on them for a little bit here. I've seen their price increase a little bit since the announcement, and I'm going to continue to watch them. Avengers Logo was actually one that I was going to purchase next. It was my next on my game plan in this short term to purchase. It's gone up a little bit. I want to complete that set of having the Iron Man and the Avengers logo, so that's one that I'm going to keep my eye on. Regardless of if its price increases or decreases, it's in my game plan to purchase. And in addition to those two golden moments that I've already mentioned, I'm also seeing Mickey's Sorcerer Hat also in there, and that's debatable because you could say that Mickey's Sorcerer Hat is a character. As we saw in the film that it was acting on its own accord, you could argue that it's not an item or an object, it's a character, but it is moving from an FA to an FE. And now that's three golden moments that used to be an FA and are now an FE. So these three I'm going to keep my eye on, but Mickey's Sorcerer Hat is out of my gem reach for now, so I'm really keeping my eye on that Avengers logo and the skateboard to see how that prices go. And I swear I didn't see Mickey's Sorcerer Hat in that list initially, but you let me know if you've seen it. And having another look at this, I even missed the Pizza Planet truck. That's another golden moment. Make that 4 golden moments that move from FA to FE. I'd really love to know your thoughts on this. Leave them in the comment section below. Do you have a collectible that has changed tags? Are you going to purchase a collectible that's changed tags? What are you going to do with your collectibles that have changed tags? Leave them in the comment section below. I really love to know what you're thinking during this time on the VeVe platform. Like this video if you found it helpful, informative, or whatever, and I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel for more VeVe content. We're releasing videos every single day, 6:15 p.m., so make sure you turn on that notification bell, and thank you so much for watching.